management simulation game set on an alien planet. After crash landing, you need to mine resources, build a base, and research technologies in order to make a new spaceship and escape, all the while fighting to protect your base from attacks by the local inhabitants. It's a big job, and you're only one lone space traveler. So to help you out, you'll need to build an assembly line of machines and conveyor belts. Lots of them. You'll be weaving belts to and fro in order to move cargo about your base. The game often feels like a belt city builder more than anything else, as you try and find the most efficient way to move items from point A to point B, or in my case, try to avoid an enormous tangled mess. Once you have your mess set up, you can then line the conveyor belts with inserters. These mechanical arms move items between belts, buildings, and storage to keep your Factorio running smoothly. And that's no easy job. If I had to move that many things, I'd flail about wildly too. Inserters also provide assembling machines with the materials needed to build new items. This is where things can get hairy, and where the management aspect of the game truly comes into play. There's a wide array of items you need to build, and while they largely use a few core ingredients, you'll often need to build items from items. For example, your belts need to move raw materials from mines into smelting furnaces and then through several assembly machines. But not only that, they need to do so at just the right speed to keep things flowing and stop your entire system from getting blocked up. This can happen all too easily. In fact, my factory spent most of its time at a standstill. It's simple enough to check in, find where the bottleneck is, and do a temporary fix, but getting things running smoothly is a whole different matter. Easy to learn and seemingly impossible to master is a good way to describe this game. It feels like everything needs to be tuned in just so. And I say feels like because I personally never got things running smoothly. I was constantly doing patch fixes and could never truly solve the nightmare I'd created, or have things built as fast as they were mined. There was plenty of tearing down and rebuilding, striving for pure efficient bliss that I could not reach. But it never felt too frustrating. In fact, it's what makes Factorio so good. While I never got to live it myself, I can vividly imagine the immense satisfaction that would come from having a well-oiled factory, and it gives me something to aspire to. Meanwhile, the slow pace gives you space to tweak and plan your assembly line as much as you like, while the sporadic alien attacks keep you on your toes. It's a delicious balance that kept me engaged, although I can see people finding this a real slog. I mean, in about 20 hours of gameplay, I felt like I achieved next to nothing, although I was having fun. And I've heard of people that have put tens of thousands of hours into the game through the early access period, and that's because there is just so much on offer here. But the density is also one of the game's biggest barriers. It can be hard to know what to do or how to use things. For example, I found trains really quite confusing at first. When building tracks, it looks like you're also setting what direction trains can move, but that's not the case. Thankfully, there are some pretty good standalone tutorials that walk you through the finer points that aren't discussed in the rather long tutorial campaign. I probably would have preferred if that information was rolled into the campaign, but at least there's somewhere that you can clearly learn it. And there is so much to learn. The possibilities for creativity, efficiency tweaks, and high-level play seem almost endless. Plus, there's a bunch of different map types you can play, and sliders to customize them with, to present you with new and different challenges. I thought the ribbon world was particularly cool. Having a narrow map would really change how you build. There's also a bunch of single and multiplayer scenarios available, many of which are just self-contained challenges, like building through a maze. It's just icing on the cake. Games that have such a high ceiling for playtime and expansion are quite rare and extremely impressive. If you're not a fan of management sims, then you'll probably find no joy here. If micromanaging is your jam, then there's a lot to like. But this is one tailor-made for fiends of the technical stuff, and for them, it's one of the best that the genre has to offer. If I had endless hours to spare, I could see myself becoming a Factorio fiend. I'm giving it 5 out of 5 rubber chickens.